folks? Welcome to Affiliate Nerd Out. I am your host and nerderator, Dustin House, spreading that good word about affiliate marketing. You're going to find me on Tuesdays and Thursdays doing LinkedIn Live and anywhere you can find your podcast. So please consider subscribing. Today, my guest, this is the first Two-Timers Club. Christen Evans is joining me from Spark Partnerships, founder and overall badass. And then we have Marchese, as I like to call him, who is currently a free agent on the market and an incredible value to any association that is looking for a great business development manager. Nick, Christen, thanks for joining me in the Nerdatorium and welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Great. Today, we are going to be going over all things affiliate marketing. So if you have any questions, feel free to jump in with the Q&A. We're happy to talk about them. As we know, we are not live from Affiliate Summit, as most everybody that is usually watches this program is probably attending right now, but they'll catch it on the recording a little bit later. But if you have questions, please jump in. But without further ado, let's start with Christen. Tell us about you, Christen.
Hi. As you said, Dustin, I am the founder and CEO, because I've decided that I've earned that title, of Spark Partnerships. I would normally be at Affiliate Summit this week, but I had Taylor Swift tickets, so priority, of course. And yes, it was fabulous. Good nails. Spark Partnerships is an incubator agency that helps brands who are primed for the affiliate space launch and grow their programs within the space. Our whole goal is to be like the hinge of affiliate marketing. So we want to help brands really get ready, get set the foundation laid, so that once they get too big for me and my resources, I can push them off to another agency, or they can help hire their own in-house resources. I love to help people succeed and educate and empower brands as well as affiliates. So I also work with content partners, helping them optimize their content, anything that they might have, that is available for affiliate links, really going through adding CTAs, stuff like that. So in the true nature of partnerships, Spark Partnerships loves to help brands of all sizes, but especially small brands, get their footing and go.
Fantastic. The SMB market is vastly underserved. Those that can't afford, an agency for X amount of thousands of dollars a month, great solution with Christen and what she's doing. She's providing incredible value for those SMBs, and super excited to have you. Nick, tell us about who you are and what you're doing.
Yeah, thanks, Dustin. And also, really quickly, to piggyback off of you, that's actually another good one too. To piggyback off of you and Christen, what Kristen's doing in the industry right now, I think, is something that is it's filling a much needed gap. It's really easy for a brand to find an agency to take over the program from top to bottom, but not too many are willing to start it off in hopes of helping it blossom and grow. So kudos to you. Love what you're doing, and looking forward to watching you take over the world.
Thanks, buddy.
As for myself, I have been in the affiliate marketing space since 2010. Started off my career at ShareSL, working in business development, agency management, as well as overseeing the entire client success team there for a while. So there was a fun ride. That was about 9 or 10 years. And then I moved over to Rakuten in business development, Apogee Agency, a couple of different agencies here and there, Fiat Growth being another fantastic one. And then most recently was with US News and World Report, and had a unique experience where I've got to be on the technology side, on the agency side, representing both agencies and, of course, brands, but also now most recently the publisher side. So I have a unique perspective. I can kind of see things from all different angles, or at least I think that I can. And I'm looking forward to talking about some cliche content.
Cliches are happening. Marketing cliches. That's our big topic of the day. We're going to be talking top pet peeves here. And the first one I have to bring up, one of my all-time favorites, is at the end of the day. It's just getting beat up out there right now. And I think my buddy Rob Schaub, I'm gonna name drop him because Rob is the absolute killer of this thing, and I would get on phone calls with him and like tally up like how many he did in a month. And I never told him about it, and he's probably gonna listen to this and he's like, "Damn it, Dustin." But you know what? He might change his ways. But any, anybody doing end of the day like
I think we all
phrases out
have a
there?
couple people that have some sort of like tropes or cliches that they drop on a regular basis that, I've got a couple of people that I've got bingo cards for on a regular basis. And,
Beautiful.
it kind of sometimes becomes like a drinking game between a few of us.
You guys,
I wouldn't be surprised to find out if I personally use at the end of the day a lot. Because as
you said it twice on our call yesterday.
that makes
burn.
sense. I don't know. When I hear you say it, I'm like, yeah, okay, well, what about the end of the day? I love the end of the day. I think the end of the day is a great time of day, and it means you accomplished all your goals. And you know what? I'm gonna throw some salt at you for using this as the first one, because I think at the end of the day, it's perfect. There's nothing wrong with the end of the day.
Yeah. I mean, it's just as valuable as closing time, as the last song at a bar. You're right. Like, you have a point, Nick. It's wrong. What were you saying, Christen?
I was saying really getting into the nuts and bolts of it.
Nuts and bolts. Fantastic.
Yeah. I think that anything where, you're having to use some sort of trope or cliche as a part of communication just means that like maybe you should be a better communicator.
Okay.
Just going straight at him.
Shots fired.
No shade there.
Shots fired. Hey, speaking of which, I think we're all guilty of using cliches at times, right? And this is all in fun and games. Like if we come across something like Rob, I'm sorry, I'm not sorry that that I'm calling you out, but like we're trying to temper expectations on how we all use this and get a little bit better. I personally, I know my filler word of drives myself crazy because I have to edit these videos.
Oh yeah.
And then I have to go through and hear that, and it just makes me cringe every time. Nick, you were a little salty on that first one. Why don't you go ahead with this next one so I can burn it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. So the first one that came to my mind when we started talking about this topic was kind of tying it back now to the affiliate space. Over the years, when I've either been managing programs or kind of selling to a brand the value of the technology, most times the conversation of coupon affiliates comes in, and or deal affiliates or some sort of a discount or of any sort. There's no right answer whether a brand should be doing, offering discounts, coupons, or deals. It kind of depends on the brand themselves, how many they should be. But the term, or the phrase, I should say, that kind of every time I hear it, I just kind of roll my eyes in my head a little bit. And again, I have probably used it. I'm sure everyone here has, and everyone else will. So this is truly no judgment towards anyone who actually does. But we're a luxury brand, or we want to be perceived as a luxury brand, so therefore we don't offer a discount. I think that, again, there's no harm in doing that. If that's a strategy that you're going to take, do it by all means. I think there's a lot of ways that you can say it. There's a lot of ways you can get that point across just by simply saying no. I think that when you have to put a reason behind it, it actually devalues the reason that you put behind it. So if I know that you're a luxury brand already, and I'm in that market, which, by the way, for everyone, I am not in the market for luxury products at all. I will break them or get hot dog stains or ketchup stains on my shirt. Me and luxury things don't work out well. So maybe this is also because I'm in the wrong market for it. But if we're talking about that and we're getting to the point where we're saying, we're a luxury brand, I should already be aware that you're a luxury brand. You shouldn't have to tell me about it. So don't just say we don't offer coupons. It's not part of our strategy. And the next topic is moving on. So
I would piggyback off that too. Like, you can't really say you're a luxury brand and then have a discount welcome offer on your site. Like there's a little something about that that's not quite conducive to one another. But
Ooh.
even with luxury brands, and I know that this isn't really staying in the topic of tropes and cliches, but even with luxury brands, like there's a cohort of your customers that always wants the best deal possible. So, yeah.
Yeah, even I, who have traditionally said hate coupon and loyalty sites, I won't work with them in my programs. Even I think that luxury brand statement is a little aggressive. Like, if you're going to close yourself off to everybody in the coupon space and not offer anything, I think you're losing a lot of potential at the end of the day.
Right.
Christen, what do you got too? Let's go with your big one.
Yeah,
Here.
I a big shout out to Nate Beal for dropping this one in the comments on my LinkedIn post. But synergies, literally don't. Maybe don't. I think there are so many different ways that you can show that you guys can work together. A brand and a partner. Brand alignment, off the top of my head, is one that works because it literally shows that you are aligned with the brand. Content alignment, same thing. The brand is aligned with your content. I think that synergies is one of those words that people like glommed onto and then just stuck to, and I'm really tired of seeing it and hearing it over and over again.
One of my first jobs out of college was a company. I won't go into the full name of it, but it was Synergy something, and it was not spelled with an S. It was spelled with a C. Also,
No.
it took Synergy to the next level of synergenetic opportunity. It was really, really fantastic. Yeah,
in like a bad way though. Yeah,
they rebranded eventually.
I think that, synergies is also one of those phrases that, in my earlier affiliate summit days, a lot of those people who would be like, do you buy traffic? Would be like, hey, let's meet and see if we have synergies. And so I think it added that extra bad taste in my mouth, because I'm like, no, I get my traffic organically. Ew. But also, like, they're coming at me with that thing just to learn there were absolutely no synergies.
Well, maybe that's the best part of synergizing.
Is that it's ironic?
Well, no, that you figure out that there is no synergification available. I think synergizing has been around and cliche for a solid 10 years. Yeah. I remember an account manager that I was working with brought it up in an ironic way, like, hey, let's get this synergize going. Like, that's how he started the meeting, and I could just tell on his face, like, too many people were saying it to him in the conference. And it was a good joke. So, but in synergification users' defense, I mean, it is a fun word to say.
If you can say it.
If you can pronounce it properly, yes, absolutely. Great, yeah. Synergies have got to go, but they've had a good run.
But they're no longer
we'll come up with something else.
So they gotta see their way out.
Partnering up is good enough. Synergizing, let's take a back seat with that.
Here's another crazy one that kind of ties into that.
Okay.
Mutual benefit. Isn't that just the same thing as synergy? Can't we just revert back to that and say, is there a mutual benefit here? Like, or I've something that's going to benefit you as well as it's going to benefit me. Like, it just it's more natural.
A partnership at the end of the day should be mutually beneficial. So why?
And synergetic.
Yeah.
I don't disagree, Christen. Can't disagree on mutually beneficial. Yeah, that's no more thoughts on that one. Actually, I'd like to get a little bit higher on the scale and go up to a 30,000 foot view here, and then
that transition. That was good.
So that we so that we can better understand. Let's take a step back, right? zoom out, 30,000 foot view. I don't know who came up with this originally, this mastermind, but also it is some people are 10,000, some are 20, some I've seen 50,000.
Some
Like,
people are 5 foot
why?
too.
What's the limit?
I go 60. I go 60. That's my go-to.
You go 60? 60's your?
Yeah.
Okay. I like to use it ironically, and like, you know, Will Clark isn't in my background today, but I like 22,000 foot view just because it's my favorite number and whatever. Do you guys use this often? I'm guilty of it in an email.
Yeah.
Sometimes,
I think I probably
maybe.
use at the end of the day more than I use 60,000 foot view. But for me, I was telling you this a while ago. The reason I'm actually kind of I like that one is my first role out of high school. I was in the Air Force and I was a jet mechanic. And every time I think of that, I'm like, oh well, what goes 60,000 feet? Okay, well, the U2 does. That's pretty cool. I could work on the U2. That's pretty gnarly. All right, yeah, you know what? Let's go 60,000 view. I like this. It's better than 10,000. Am I wrong? So why not go 60?
I can get that out on the mountain. I can climb a mountain.
Exactly.
10,000.
Exactly. Anyone can do that barefoot.
I think the opposite of that too is like granular, you know. So I tend to say that too much is like, you know, when like if we're really getting into an affiliate program, you can't look at it too granularly. And I do say that with frequency because it's one of those expectation management pieces with clients, especially, you know, and which is true. Like if you're looking at an affiliate program, if you actually break it down like day by day or week by week, you're gonna get the worst view of it. So you do have to zoom out. Ew, hate that one too. And so it's like we're putting those all together. We got to take it from the granular to the zoomed out view of the 30,000 to 60,000. Yeah.
To figure out which synergies are there for you.
Oh my God, I might throw up now. It's fine.
It's a good line. You should use that.
All right. Well, let's put a pin in that one and come back to it a little bit later. Nick, you're up. What do you got? You want to hit social proof?
Yeah. So
I had that on your to-do list.
The first time I heard social proof, it took me a fair while to figure out what the guy was talking about. I almost use it ironically, kind of how we use synergy now. I use it ironically everywhere I could, and of course, turns out I was probably using it way wrong. And I own that. I don't care. I have to say, that was before I actually got in the weeds and got very granular instead of the 60,000 foot view. I now
have a hard time seeing the forest through the trees there.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. Yes. I now totally get this, and when people use it, I have this like warm feeling of like, yes, I understand you now. Oh, I feel important. I think it's important because I think what social proof actually does is, I thought the guy was just using it as another phrase to use to make him sound important, as people oftentimes do. Turns out for those who don't know what social proof is somehow at this point in the game, turns out that all he was asking for, or all he was telling us, is he doesn't need revenue attributed to this activity. He just wanted it to be out in the wild so that the world could see it. Doesn't matter if there was revenue behind it. It was just, does it exist? And I think social proof is actually a good way to go about it. I think when I first heard it, I'm like, oh, here we go. This guy is going to be fantastic. And now in hindsight, 2 or 3 years later, I'm like, yeah, you know what? I use it regularly. It's not quite my go-to for any conversation, but I like it.
And I think with social proof comes brand awareness, which is also one of my favorites. Actually, directly after social proof comes brand awareness. And I think that's, a big piece too. That's one of those phrases that I love to talk about with partners, especially, small emerging brands who are trying to, find their foothold. Social proof and brand awareness are two of the best KPIs that brands can look for in the early days.
Beautiful. You guys, KPIs must be like the most overused acronym, like just thrown around from smart marketers out there that want to tell you all about how cool they are. But I can't go without talking about proof without it being in the pudding. I don't know who's eating this pudding, but I really don't like the taste of it. And every time somebody says this, I think of Jello, and then I think of Bill Cosby. And this guy is like, that's where my mind goes.
Oh,
So
no.
whenever you say proof is in the pudding, I can't help but like think of Bill Cosby.
And now, because of you, every time I say social proof, I'm now going to be thinking of Bill Cosby because of your disconnect. Thank you.
Well, now Nick's going to say the social proof is in the pudding.
Social proof is in pudding. That could be a new
one.
For us.
Actually,
I'm going to start
running the like a pudding program. That would work.
I mean, what we should be like writing this down, kind of like the old sheriff sale board.
Yeah, sheriff sale, and
yeah, sheriff sale.
Even better, guys. This is live and on the internet now. All my Bill Cosby references will be here forever. Before we
evergreen is what you're gonna say.
Oh, evergreen.
Evergreen, absolutely. These are any other super cliches we want to drop in. We want to announce the world they should be dead before we move on to our other topics of like real value.
Well, we were talking about KPIs, but what about those OKRs, Nick?
The OKRs and the CAC, I mean, really kind of all ties together in a synergistic way where one can piggyback off of another.
To lead to that high ROAS.
Yeah, I think OKRs are fascinating. Whoever came up with that whole OKR program, I think.
Will really you clarify what OKRs are for the audience, please?
I don't even know what it stands for. Every single time I hear it, I tune it out. It's like, I genuinely don't care. I don't know. I just know that when someone says OKRs, all that means to me is that I have to come up with a project to do to make more money for the company.
It's objectives and key results.
So I have to make more money for the company.
Yeah,
well,
your goals. It's your goals and then the stuff.
Goals. It's so easy. Projects and goals.
Yeah.
Projects lead to goals.
Yeah.
Done.
And then results.
I remember a job interview like 10 plus years ago where somebody said, what are some other KPIs besides revenue you think is important with the affiliate program? And I didn't know what KPI was, but I wasn't going to tell her. Like, I'm not going to say I don't know what KPIs is. Then I'm not going to get the job, right? So I'm like, well, nothing. I mean, nothing's as important as revenue. That was essentially my answer. Like, but that was before my schooling in partnerships. Of course, I could have said like, the intangibles of what we do as an affiliate manager are very difficult to put a KPI associated to for the future. Like the partnerships we're building today could help us out in 2 years, and we never have like a visual KPI of what we do today. But I always
will be in the social pudding on that.
Oh, so true. Only when you get to 60,000 feet, though. Yeah, acronyms. I am as guilty as anybody using them out there, and I hate doing it. And I must always do the opposite of, in an article where you like say the whole word, okay, performance indicators, and then you put KPI in it, and then you use KPI for the rest of the article. I do the opposite. Like if I say KPI, if I do any acronym, then I explain myself for the first time after I use it. I don't know if you guys do the same. Like, I just don't want anybody to go through that feeling that I had when somebody said KPI to me the first time.
I'm the exact same way, which is also why I explained what social proof was a few minutes ago. Everyone probably knows what it is, but I don't know that.
For those that don't,
yeah. There's always somebody that's going to have a question on it, so might as well explain it. Clarity is kindness, so be kind.
Be kind. Great words. Thank you, Christen. All right. Incorrect. All right. Let's completely segue here and get into Q4 best practices. Let's get into something relatively relevant. Q4 is around the corner for us. Yeah,
we're officially in August, so Q4 pitching is here. If Karen Garcia were on, she would be able to tell us exactly how many days until Black Friday. So, that's always scary when you start hearing Karen count down from like the hundreds. But yeah, Q4 is here. It's right around the corner, as we've seen since, really 2020, maybe slightly before. The runway for Q4 is getting longer and longer every year. So whereas, brands were really starting to set up their Black Friday, Cyber Monday goals in like September, we're really looking at like July as having to have those early conversations. And if brands and affiliate managers aren't pitching Q4, like starting now, then you're losing the opportunity to get in on those gift guides and those various placements.
Great. I think one of the best practices for merchant AMs is start asking in July or August for somebody's media kit, right?
Yeah.
Any kind of representation you have of your companies, of additional sponsorship or additional exposure your website has coming up in Q4, let's get that out in the open and let your audience of affiliates know that we're open and willing to entertain all deals. So Nick, what do you think is best practice here to do with that media kit, like just to prepare for those brands that might be asking for it?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the first part that might go a little bit uncontemplated is actually, as a publisher, getting started early, knowing what you're going to be doing. I mean, if you take this channel seriously, by now at this point in the game, you should already have it at the very least a rough framework built out. You might not have all your OKRs pinned down or the KPIs associated with each OKR, but if there's a good synergy, if you're on top of it, and if you know what you're actually going to be doing or you want to be doing, then you hopefully have this all kind of planned out and figured out from a high level thing. Because when a brand does reach out to you, it's just like with a publisher or with an affiliate manager reaching out to an affiliate. When a brand reaches out to you saying, "Can I have your media kit?" you have that window of opportunity right now to be selling the hell out of what it is that you're selling. So have it ready, be prepared for it, but also let it be known that whether you can be flexible or if you're firm on what numbers are in there, if there are even numbers in there. But like if you're selling a media spot for $50,000, then let it be known right out of the gates, this is flexible or it's not flexible. I know that a lot of folks will say, "Oh, well, from a sales perspective, I don't want to be giving out the farm, implying that I can lower my fees," but you don't have to. You can lower your fees in one way, but come up in another area and kind of diversify. But that's for like obviously $50,000 for a somewhat larger publisher. Smaller publishers also need to be thinking about this stuff too. I would say almost especially smaller publishers, because that's really where, from a brand perspective, brands, of course, they want the Condé Nast of the world, putting their content in every single piece of content they produce, or their brand in every single piece of content they produce. But the fact is that's really hard to get done. It's really easy to go to a smaller publisher and say, "Hey, we are this brand and we do this. You caught my attention. Would love to work with you." If a small publisher has that awareness and that ability to build their strategy out far enough in advance, they can really start to capitalize it now, start to create content, take their more organic approach, using SEO to drive traffic to their stuff now, so that when crunch time comes, that's another good one too. When crunch time comes, they can really start to churn out revenue and sales through the channel.
Yeah, and I back up on that a little bit. Some of the other information that, like, for brands in particular, that's really helpful to include in media kits, especially if you're a smaller publisher, any sort of conversion rate, anything that you can show, like we have a click-through rate, we have a conversion rate, this is our percentage of engagement on our social posts, really being able to show the brand that it's not just a brand awareness play or social proof, but it is a true path to conversion, especially during those key Q4 moments. That's really helpful. But then to also back up what Nick was saying, the longer runway, you have with these brands where you can do the storytelling and the pre-selling ahead of the key converting times. So you're kind of, setting your audience up for, these brands are going to be available during this key selling time. Here's what I love about them. Here, is why you should purchase them. Then you're going to have a much higher opportunity for conversion during that key sales period. And then brands, same thing, get it together early. Really start considering what your Q4 offer is going to be starting midsummer. Don't be scrambling in September, October to be like, oh no, are we going to do 30% for Black Friday, Cyber Monday?
Oh, shit.
Have a plan in place. And so that your affiliate managers and your PR people, let's not forget that PR is really big during this time of year. Your affiliate managers, your PR people, and your influencer people should be able to start setting up whoever is going to be active in these campaigns by August. They need to have all of the information so that we can get our marketing calendars locked and loaded, and we're including you in pitches nonstop. The other part of this is your affiliate managers and your PR team. They're likely thinking of very outside the box ideas. They're not just looking at like, oh, you're a skincare brand, you should go in a skincare gift guide. How about a travel gift guide? How about a self-care gift guide? How about a gift guide for men? Because men do skincare too. Really considering all of the different ways that a brand can be included in a gift guide versus the most obvious way.
Beautiful. One big part of this, the being prepared part for publishers, biggest reason to be prepared for that Q4 question that's going to come from those merchants is being the first to say yes and volunteer your things. Because what's going to happen is merchants are going to have a Q4 budget of sponsorship for $10,000. Now, whoever answers first is going to have the first opportunity to cash in on that. And now, if you say, I've got this stuff over here for $1,000, they might say yes immediately. And then somebody else might say $10,000, but they already said yes to you, and that budget has to go someplace else. So you get that to them as soon as possible. Have that email template ready to rock when people ask about this, or even start sending it out in August to get it on the top of the merchant's mind out there. So great points from both of you. What else can merchants or publishers do to prep for best practices in Q4 here?
I think one of the things that we can really do, if we have ability as brands and as merchants to flex on CPAs for commission rates for publishers, and especially some of the smaller publishers during Q4, it's a great time to do that. You can really activate and engage a lot of your partners by reaching out and communicating like, hey, we would love to give you extra money during the holidays. Who doesn't want to hear that? Who doesn't want to try for that? And if you're doing that on a commission basis in particular, or if you're doing it on a hybrid basis where it's like, hey, we want to give you a little bit up front, but we would also like to give you more on the back end. That's how you start building another one of my favorites, brand affinity with your affiliates, so that you're able to kind of have these ongoing relationships that should last beyond Q4.
Any thoughts on that, Nick?
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I actually would say the one thing that I think that is really important, adding to that a little bit more, is kind of going back to the budget in itself. Like, yes, that's obviously important to consider the increased CPA, but Dustin, you mentioned $10,000 budget or $1,000 budget. They have to have that budget in mind first, and they have to be willing to actually spend it. There are, I almost feel like the small to medium sized brands are the ones who actually take this most seriously. Because I almost, from what I've seen recently, and it's not every brand, of course, but a lot of these large, massive ones, the big box brands, almost go the opposite route and say, well, this is our chance to get free traffic. And so we're just not we're gonna lower our commission rates. There was a brand 8 or 9 years ago who just turned off their affiliate program on
every Q4. Somebody does it every Q4
before Black Friday. And at that point in time, all these publishers have their content pre-planned and pre-written. So it's almost unethical in a sense, unless there's an actual valid reason, of course. If there's like an actual budget or economical issue, why you can't, then it's a different story. But having it be prepared from a brand perspective is really important. And you can do it in a couple of different ways. Obviously, you can figure out your flat rate content budget. You can figure out your commission rate increase either across the board, or you can get more dynamic and have it be based off of customer behavior, and not just like this affiliate 10%, this affiliate's 2%, but you can do something along the lines of like, well, this customer used their exclusive code and their transaction was over $400 and they were a new customer, and just adding all these different criterias, because they're not really thinking. I feel like a lot of brands these days aren't really thinking about the LTV of an actual customer anymore. They're always looking at like that first single interaction.
The new customer, yeah.
They lose money on that first customer or that first transaction. And yes, you do, because you have a good product. And if you have a solid remarketing tool, then that's going to be an infinite amount of money later on down the road. Well, maybe not infinite, because that's not the definition of LTV, but you get it.
It seems really ridiculous that I have to put that as a best practice of don't shut off your program in Q4.
Don't shut off.
But it's so true. I mean, it's so true. Trisha Meyer is one of my favorite people to talk to about this, because like she, every single year, you know, with Sunshine Rewards and helping mamas connect, she is one of the first people who will red flag almost any program that does this, whether it's a significant commission decrease where, you know, we've seen some programs go down to like 0.5%. From like 10% or whatever, which is insane, or completely shut off a program. And what I think a lot of brands don't consider when they do that, this is not just that, like, you know, they might be saving budget, but they're really, really hurting relationships. And they're not just hurting relationships with customers, they're hurting relationships with their own personal, like, marketing machine. You know, I've had brands do that to me when I was an affiliate, and I never worked with them again.
Yeah, totally.
That can be a death knell for a lot of affiliate programs. Like, you might still get some of those partners who, you know, do a lot of automated whatever that, you know, will run your program. But if you're really looking for those true partners that are like media partners or content partners, that's going to hurt you more than it's going to help you. And if you have to take a drastic measurement, do what Nick indicated and look more dynamically. You know, you can do everything from product level commissioning to, you know, customer status to, I mean, there's a million different things that you can do if you have the right tools. Rather than break something, adjust it, pivot.
Can I add one more thing too? Talk about this. Oh, I'm sorry. All right, nice chatting with you guys. See you later. This is something that I think that both the advertiser and the publisher should be doing, but it's a technical audit, making sure that first off, if you're a brand, that you're going into a code freeze. You're not doing anything different. You're not removing the pixel. You're not modifying the pixel. But before that, preparing to make sure that your tracking is working. Make sure that you have every update, every parameter, your ITP compliant, everything that you need. This is the time right now to be starting it and wrapping it up within a few weeks. Like, get it all done, even if that means that you have to hire a developer or a contractor to help out with this. Get it done now, because when that time comes, if you have an affiliate program that gets shut off, not because of budget, but everyone thinks that they're tracking sales or they should be tracking sales and they're not, you're gonna have a lot of really upset affiliates that aren't, and it's not gonna impact you just in Q4. That's gonna have a long-term impact on you. Christen, just like you mentioned, like, you've stopped working with brands completely when they do that. On the flip side, publishers, make sure that you know how your links work. If you're a smaller publisher, make sure you understand this all. Make sure that you're auditing who you're driving traffic to, whether you want to be driving traffic to the Amazon Associates account, which is fine, especially if you're using, like Rob's tool. That's fantastic. Do it. You can get an increased CPA. Go for it. If it's better to be converting directly at the brand site, make sure that you have the right links. You're in the program. You've got the right terms, the right contracts, the right offers from Impact or whatever the network is, having them pushed to you, and start the dialogue now with the brand. To let them know.
Even better, like reason you brought up, you know, the tech freeze. You know, that's going to happen the week before Black Friday, Cyber Weekend, whatever you want to call it. A lot of companies are going to go out there and do it. It just means you have to be more prepared than the week before to get these deals settled in before they go and do that. Go ahead, Christen.
And I think that Nick had a good point is, you know, as you're doing those audits, reach out to your affiliate managers. Affiliate managers should always be reaching out to you, whether it's through a newsletter or one-on-one communication. But if you ever have a question about your program and you really do want to promote a brand during Q4, go ahead and reach out to the brand. How responsive they are might be an indicator of how well run their program is. And if you're not receiving a lot of responses, then that could potentially be a red flag. But also just reach out to the brands and be like, hey, I'm starting to get ready for Q4. Here's where I promoted you on my site so far. Do you have any feedback for me? That is going to create a level of engagement with that affiliate manager, and you're going to be top of mind for them going forward with that kind of communication.
And no one does it. The smaller publishers don't do it. Big publishers do, of course, if there's always a constant conversation or constant communication. But a smaller website who is just kind of doing this as a side project or just starting off full time on this, they never think to do that. And having managed programs, if someone reached out to me, there's of course there's the candidly, there's the immediate instinct of like, oh, you're a small publisher. But then reality kicks in and yes, you're a small publisher. Let's make you a big publisher.
Yeah.
Let's see how we can help you. And if you're a good affiliate manager, that's the way that you approach this.
Yeah.
So, yeah, which is what Christen does. So everyone work with Christen.
Thank you.
Oh, fabulous points. Thank you for all those best practices we were talking about. Speaking of which, let's talk about that sponsor of the day. Oh, who should I pick? I don't know. Let's go with Performance Marketing Manager.
Hey!
Everything we've been talking about today as an affiliate manager, I teach in my course.
You do?
Join my community. That's right. I teach all of these important aspects and intricate parts of being an affiliate manager in my course, Performance Marketing Manager. Go check it out. Over at performancemarketingmanager.com. I want to thank you guys for being here today. You guys have been such amazing guests. On Thursday, I'm going to have my buddy Todd Wiseman show up. If you would like to join me on Affiliate Nerd Out, go to dustinhouse.com or hit that QR code right above here, dustinhouse.com/nerd. And if you guys have any last things that you want to talk about, any events that you coming up, any parting words for this audience, now is the time for it.
Well, I would say that we've reached the end of the day.
It's time to shore up the deals.
Shore them up.
Into lockstep and call it good.
Okay.
As far as events, I am speaking with Wade Tonkin and Christina Nolan at eTail on behalf of the Performance Marketing Association. eTail is a large brand conference that's happening in Boston. It also happens in, I think they have a Canada event and Palm Springs in the spring. It's really a super fun conference, but we're talking all about performance marketing and the PMA. So really excited for that one. Wade is a friend of the show, of course, and Christina Nolan from DMI has been doing this for a long time. So I'm super excited to be able to pick the brains of super smart people. And beyond that, I mean, we just have Q4 coming up. It's a lot.
Get prepared, folks. Fantastic. All right. And then the last thing I'll say is if anybody wants 15-minute call with me, go to dustinhouse.com/explore. Happy to help you for 15 minutes and point you in the right direction, get you the help you need. Christen's an invaluable person that I send a lot of folks to since, a lot of times I don't want to do the work. And then Nick, all the best to you in your venture to find a new role here. I can't wait to see who snaps you up and brings you on the biz dev team. But it's a shame that you're on this free agent market right now. It won't last long.
I am. I'm just getting stuff done. Just relaxing and enjoying the end of summer. It's fantastic.
Yeah, you should go to that beach behind you, wherever that is. Looks pretty desolate.
Thank you so much for having us on again, Dustin. This was super duper fun.
Dangerous format for sure.
Dangerous format, but fun. Yes. These are always great. I love it.
Awesome. Thanks for coming. For everybody out there, keep on recruiting, and we'll see you out there. Take care, folks.
Bye, guys.